Hello, boils and ghouls. You are now tuned in to PVD Horror Podcast. Pleasant screams.
Hey, what's going on? You're now tuned in to the PVD Horror Podcast. I'm Brandon, and I'm joined by my co-host Dave. And today we have producer, director, and writer Adam Newman back on the show to talk about his new film, Round the Decay, which is set to hit theaters January 30th. Adam, thanks for coming back on the show, man.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I really enjoyed my time last time, and hopefully this will be a good one.
Here's hoping.
Yeah.
We'll try not to ruin it.
Yeah. So happy new year, man. Last time you appeared on the show, we had the opportunity to discuss Everwinter Night, and you was 16 days away from starting this project. How have you been since then?
Oh my God. Was I really, it was that close to, that was really irresponsible of me. It's no, I've been great. It's been really, really busy. Obviously, we shot that movie in April, which was great. And then we've been in, obviously in post-production since, and, getting this movie out less than a year later has been insane. And in the meantime, I got married and bought a house. So it's been a very busy
Good for you.
year.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, first off, Adam, just wanted to say happy belated birthday.
Okay. Thank you.
Your birthday is Christmas?
No, my birthday is not Christmas. No.
Wait, where did I see that? When was your birthday?
Know. My birthday is November 14th.
So
it's at least
I literally saw somewhere December 25th. All right.
It is not my birthday.
That is fake information. I take it back.
It would be amazing if it was, because my name is obviously Adam, the first man, and my initials do spell amen. So it would have been very fitting.
Wow.
If that was.
I don't know where I saw that. So
yeah, that's crazy.
Wow, that's embarrassing. No, that's fine.
No worries.
All right, so we'll just kind of pretend that didn't happen. So being an indie filmmaker, I want to ask you this question. We're just starting 2025. Last year I think we saw a mix. It was a lot of blockbuster theater movies, but there was a ton of indie horror films, as we have seen a big uprising in the last few years. So I wanted to see, do you have any favorites from last year that you want to shout out?
Okay, well, are you talking movies across the board, or are we just going strictly horror?
Well, I was thinking indie horror, but if there's any other movies you want to shout out, we're here for it.
Indie horror that came out in 2024, that's a tough one, because I don't think this is the tough thing about being in production and in pre-production and post-production all at the same time, is you don't get to see as many movies as you typically would. I try to get in 100 new movies a year.
Yeah.
This year I came in at a mediocre 28 or something like that from 2024. So, I mean, honestly, indie, I don't think I saw a whole lot of stuff. I didn't see Terrifier, and I know everybody's wild about Terrifier. My crew was the same crew on Terrifier. They were actually late to our movie because they were on Terrifier. Yeah, exactly. So I didn't see Terrifier, and it's also I'm kind of a baby when it comes to gore. And then I didn't see The Substance either, and everybody keeps telling me to see The Substance. I mean, in terms of actual, I really like Smile 2, and and I really, really enjoyed, oh boy, what was it? Oh man, it's at the tip of my tongue, but it's not. Oh, I mean, Alien Romulus. I like Alien Romulus quite a bit, despite the whole CGI thing that went on. So overall, those were kind of my favorite from horror from last year. But I am really excited. What you just said is very true. We're kind of getting, and it's not just in horror, it's in all genres. We're getting big tentpole blockbuster movies, and then just an influx of independent movies.
Yeah.
And even at the cinema, which is so great. And it's probably, paved the path for us for Round the Decay in order to get into those cinemas.
I just want to save face a little bit. So I just did a quick Google search.
Yeah.
There's an Adam Newman who is also a filmmaker from Concord, New Hampshire.
Oh, I know.
Who was born on December 25th, 1982.
I did not know that he was born on that, but yes, he was born. I was going to say he's right down the street. He was basically born 40 minutes from me or 30 minutes from me.
Yeah.
And he's unfortunately the more famous Adam Newman, which has always devastated me that another Adam Newman from New Hampshire
Right.
speaks to me even,
Mhm.
but he's also a very funny comedian. Go check the clip
Right.
where online where he accidentally discovers he takes a coat from an audience member and discovers that there's cocaine in the pocket. It's a lot of fun.
Ah, man. So, Adam, like I said, you were on the show before. Would you mind updating the listeners on what Dreamscape Productions is all about?
Yeah, so we're just a small independent film production company that is starting to dabble in distribution as well. So back when we talked, we had just put out Everwinter Night, and
Mhm.
we dabble with Film Hub basically. We put it on there. We want to see what it's all about, see what it does for us, what we can do with it. And then, we made Round the Decay, but at the same time, we're also now starting to pick up other movies for theatrical distribution at the very least. We haven't really necessarily cracked the code when it comes to streaming and things of that nature, which is why we're still having conversations with sales agents and distributors in regards to Round the Decay. But we ended up working on another couple movies, some from over in Michigan, and we're now putting them into theaters, smaller theater runs. They're smaller budget movies as well, but we're kind of trying to pull in more and more features. And try to get them out into theaters as well. With the context that we've had, we're kind of sick and tired of gatekeepers, and I'm sure that you guys kind of feel the same way.
Yeah.
And especially social media sucks in a lot of ways, but at the same time, it's a great opportunity to have conversations with people that you never would have before. And so, yeah, we're just kind of hoping to be one of the small pioneers, or at least one of the people that is holding our hands up so that we can help prop other filmmakers up as well.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, we know a lot of up and coming actors that are looking to get into the film world. What steps can actors take to get involved with Dreamscape Productions?
Well, reach out to us, of course. I never be bashful. I
Mhm.
think that this has got to be the case with anybody that's in the arts, and if you want to get into things, like I'm always my Instagram, Facebook, my email. Like if you hit me, I always respond. Anybody that's
Mhm.
interested in acting, we have an acting form that we actually have been circulating around through social media. And anybody that wants to act, they click the form. It takes about 5 minutes. It's kind of fun. You get to be jokey. You get to click all the things that you are
Mhm.
comfortable and not comfortable with. Tell us where you're from, where your union status is, all that type of stuff, so that you can hopefully we can bring you on board down the line, because that's the first place we go. We go to the actors we've used before, and we go to our list and see, all right, who of these people that clearly want to work with us, is
Mhm.
going to work with us and going to fit whatever we want to do next.
Cool.
There you go. So everybody listening right now, if you're trying to get down on some films, definitely reach out to Adam, man, because he's been putting out some great films. You've been making films like we talked about that since what, 15 years now? Now it's 16. So
Yeah,
so crazy.
making me feel very, very old.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, at this point, I mean, these two movies with Dreamscape
Yeah.
have been the ones that are the best production that we've had. But
Hmm.
yeah, I've made, oh boy, another three features, some of which haven't seen the light of day, and that's for the best.
Hmm.
And then a bunch of shorts as well. And I know that we're developing a lot of stuff every single day, no matter how busy I am. I write 30 minutes a day at least to make sure that I'm constantly getting another script going. If I had it my way, we'd be shooting a movie every month. So
Yeah.
our goal is to be making more stuff, and we want to work with other people who would make stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talking about working with other people making stuff, you just hosted the New England Filmmaking Spirit Festival, Take Two. What did you take away from that experience?
You guys are doing your research. That's great.
Research.
Yeah, it was a great little event where people came together. And what I love about those things is, and this is kind of what I feel about a lot of film festivals, which is that a long time ago we were kind of sold this lie that, like, you put your movie in a film festival and there's just some guy with deep money pockets that says, like,
Mhm.
now that you've made that, take all my money and make something. That never happened. That was the 90s, and it kind of went away. But what it has been, and with a lot of even these local film festivals, has been such a great opportunity to network with people. And when they come and they see their shorts, they make a deal with you. I will sit through, you have to sit through my bad short. I sit through your bad short. We have a good time.
Mhm.
And then afterwards, we talk about it. And we talk about what we liked about it. And then if you have a skill and I have a skill, we work together and we find a way to make a project together. And that's what this was supposed to be. It was just going to be a celebration of that, as well as kind of propping up the North Andover Historical Society, who has a theater. I'm not kidding. Any person who is remotely near the area, if you want to screen something, screen it there. It is very cheap. and it's great projection, but most importantly, the sound is incredible, which is so rare for a lot of these things. So you get to go and hear your movie in great surround, especially if you got a 5.1 mix. It's great. So it was a great opportunity to hear my movie, surrounding us, and then also just a great place to network with other like-minded filmmakers.
Sure.
You were able to feature your short, It's Me Ma. So what was that like, having your 4-minute short play? And where can we watch that?
Well, It's Me Ma is not mine. It's my good friend Mike Neal's. I don't know. I believe it's actually on YouTube, and it's a lot of fun.
Okay.
I didn't actually have any of my short playing. The only thing we did there really was show the trailer for Round the Decay.
Okay.
And then we teased the scene from Round the Decay. We showed one of the first scenes. And so It's Me Ma is my good friend Mike Neal, who's one of the best people. He's down in Southern Mass. And that guy is pumping out stuff all the time. He's currently trying to make a big Lovecraft movie, like a legit Lovecraft movie.
Nice.
So yeah,
Okay.
hell yeah. So you guys should check out all of his stuff and everybody else that was associated with that. Jimmy Martin made some great shorts. There's this girl, I don't know how to pronounce her last name. I think it's Perella. Her name is Sophia Perella.
Yeah.
She made a short called Streetlight. Have you heard about this?
Yeah, she's going to bring that up.
Yeah. She's Rhode Island based. We actually got to check it out. It was really impressive.
It's an awesome short. I had a 2-hour conversation with Sophie the other day where she was just like, please tell me how to fund movies, and it was lovely. It was awesome. Great, and especially because like Streetlight it's one of the best shorts I've ever seen. Like it blows anything I've ever made out of the water. So it was but that's what was so cool. Now I saw her short, I asked for it to be in here. Now we've made a connection, and hopefully I've helped her and she'll help me.
That's awesome. Yeah, because I was going to bring that up because we were going to have her screen Streetlight before one of our films, and so I think the timing was just a little bit off. So that's something we're working on too, to get her to do that at one of our screenings. So
that would be amazing. Yeah. She's unbelievably talented, frustratingly so. Like it's one of those people that like you get mad because she just has more talent than you. So I'm really excited that she's going to play her short. And the good news is, when I had this 2-hour conversation with her, when she was talking about money and how to fund things, it was because she has another short that's in the works. So
awesome.
Really excited. I'm trying to get her to make a feature, because I don't think Streetlight necessarily lends itself to be a feature, but anybody that can make something that's even that small is
absolutely
could make a good feature.
Yep.
So now Round the Decay is hitting theaters January 30th. How can listeners pre-order tickets?
So we have a link. If you check all of our socials and stuff like that, it's circulating everywhere. But you can also go to our website, dreamscapeproductions.com. It's one of the first things that's there. I know the big thing, which is the toughest thing for anybody, for film goers. You guys, I'm sure, are the same thing. You probably don't pre-order that much, and if it is, it's a couple of days in advance. And I understand that that's a little bit unconventional, but what it does do, when people do this, one, you get the perk of also getting the digital download of the movie, which is cool. So, and you get to see that before anybody else sees it at home. But what it also does is it helps us get into more cinemas, because if we have more of these pre-sale tickets, it just means that our cinema list can go from the 100 or so that we have to potentially thousands. And we're trying to get into cinemas, like Terrifier 3 really paved the damn way for all of us.
Yeah,
sure.
It has really helped say, like, and the audience is going to see it, has shown, we want original stories. We want horror stories. We want stuff with practical effects. We don't care what the budget is, as long as it's cool.
Yeah.
And so, I think that it's unconventional to pre-order a ticket, but if you do, it really helps our film. But hopefully that just helps all of the rest of films. We're all in the same boat here. We're not enemies. We're not out on the seas battling each other. We're all in the same boat, trying to make sure that the boat stays afloat. And so hopefully Round the Decay getting into theaters will help anybody that comes onto your guys' show and is trying to make a feature, because we want to help them. We want to work with them and make it so that we're not just watching tentpole movies every time. And I'm sure that you guys feel the same way, that you start to get a little bit fatigued of that. You just want original stories. So
what you're talking about is something that Brandon and I have been talking more and more about over the past year or more, just because we're like, as a casual moviegoer, you don't consider all these things that go into supporting the filmmakers, but also supporting the theaters in some ways, because we want to keep the theaters open. Obviously, if you really enjoy this, you have to, like, forever I've been guilty of sneaking snacks into theaters, but then I'm like looking at the concessions, and we've been talking about like how they're relying on that so heavily these days. So that actually makes me, feel like good about purchasing, popcorn and a drink while I'm there. So there's all these little things that go into it so that we can keep this experience that we've all known to love so much. Because I mean, we're losing theaters left and right as the years go on. If we want to keep them, we have to do the things that, are going to help them stay afloat and help filmmakers like yourself and so many others be able to be in those theaters. So super important. I'm glad you brought that up about the pre-order and how it helps.
Yeah, and what you just said is like so dead on when it comes to going to the theaters. I know that the tough thing, of course, is that the theatrical experience is becoming more and more expensive.
Yeah.
Which I totally understand. And what you just said about the sneaking, I was the same way. Just find a way to sneak the snacks in. But if that's going to be just treat it like it's a night out, and it's one of those things where it's like still go out and see it at the cinema. I think that's a big thing too. And that was the thing that we were trying to sell when we had our premiere. I begged everybody. I said, please make sure that this isn't the last movie you see in the theater this year. Go and see another movie, and it doesn't need to be Round the Decay. I don't care what it is, because ultimately, I think every person that I run into that sees a good movie in the theater or has a memory of a movie in the theater thinks of it as the most magical experience there is. I will never ever get over the moment Gandalf falls off the bridge of Castle in Lord of the Rings. I will never get over where I was. I will never get over when they revealed that Bruce Willis was dead at the end of in the theater at the Chunky's Theater in Haverhill when I was like 10 years old. Like, because the thing is, I understand that it's so convenient to sit at your home and to rent a movie, and there's tons of movies where that is completely acceptable for. However, just go out to the theater and you see the thing, and because again, it is magic, and I know it takes a little bit of effort. Yeah, but I think it's so worth it. I think it's like going to a concert or something along those lines. So yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, it sucks because one of our showcase cinemas actually just shut down. My son worked there. Now he has to be transferred to another location, but they're turning that into another supermarket. Like, come on now. Like, we're losing a theater to have another supermarket. It's crazy.
It's so funny. When I moved to this house, back in April, I was so excited because 5 minutes down the road is a movie theater. I went, hell yeah, I'm finally close to one again. And it shut down, and it's now a church. So no, I totally understand where you're coming from. And I think what is happening is we're going to go through a little bit of an awkward transition here now, as theaters are going to start. They are going to disappear, and I think they are going to get hurt. But I think it's going to be like vinyl, and I think it's going to be like VHS too. VHS is having another boom where people are going to start seeing this as something that was really, really valuable. And I don't know if you guys feel the same way too, but there's a communal aspect of it too. Like going into a theater, I go to a theater alone a lot, but I'm in the theater with a lot of people, and oftentimes I'm feeling what they're feeling. And then if I really love something, I buy tickets for my friends to the same movie, and I bring them to it, and we watch it, and afterwards we talk. I'd give up so much for just that experience of talking about things after watching a movie in the cinema. You go out to have a pizza, or you grab a beer or whatever it is, and you talk about it. I don't want to lose that. I definitely don't want to lose that. And hopefully we can just be a little part of the reason that people keep going.
I love that. And more and more you're seeing these indie films having their runs in the theater, and I love that. I love, even if it's like a short run, it almost makes you feel like, oh, I gotta see it before. If I really want to see this movie, I gotta get there before it's out. We just got the email that Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare is going to have a short run at the theater. Another like indie movie that you would never see normally in a theater experience. But because of like the success of that Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey, it's going to get its opportunity, kind of what you were talking about with Terrifier kind of paving the way. So it's nice to see that these other movies are lending opportunities to other movies, and it's just hopefully going to continue to have this snowball effect. So,
yeah, and I think what you just said too about like Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey, whether you like the movie or not, which I did actually like it. But whether you do or don't like the movie, the thing is that what I love about independent filmmakers is that every chance they can get, they will find any avenue that they can find. And what happened there was Winnie the Pooh entered the public domain, and somebody was like, horror movie, let's do it. Let's take that. It's free. Let's take advantage of it. And that's why art exists. It exists so that once it is created, that it is expanded on. And that is the biggest goal with it. When you put this art forth, the goal is that it inspires people and they're able to build art off of it. So I'm glad that that happened. Even if you don't like the movie, like I said, I kind of like Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, and I know it has been destroyed, reviews and stuff like that. Who cares? Who cares? Reviews are junk anyway. The thing is that, like, we always are finding creative little ways to get in, and then that paves, like you just said, it paves a new way for some of these movies. One of my friends is in Popeye the Slayer, man. And like that's going to do the same thing. It's going to have a theatrical run, and it's going to have an audience because people want to go and have fun at the movies. And so hopefully that paves another way. And I don't want it to just be horror. I want it to be every genre too. But horror is such a great way to do it because it's typically a place where you can be a little bit cheaper, and you can take, IP, which is now free, and then you kind of do a horror spin on it. You can make a horror version of anything,
Definitely. So definitely get your tickets now. Pre-order them. Don't wait to the last minute. Get them now because you get all these special perks. You get the film after, you can go home and watch it after you watch it in the theater. So definitely pre-order the tickets now. And Adam, can you give us a synopsis of the film?
Yeah, sure. So it's about a young woman named Kenzie who returns to this kind of sleepy tourist town in New Hampshire called Newport's Valley a couple of years after a tragedy happens between her and her fiance. And when she gets there, she kind of meets this eclectic cast of characters. And together they kind of unleash this sinister secret that the town's been holding for a long time. I think it's a lot of fun. It's got a couple of little scares. It's got its kills that are fun, but it's also like a really, really human story. And it's also like an adventure movie. I love team up movies, and I was thinking about the Monster Squad quite a bit and stuff like that. It has its elements like that. So yeah, I hope everybody goes and sees it. It's really just I obviously put a lot of myself into it, and I put a lot of heart into it. And it's because I was going through a bad breakup at the time. But I also think beyond that, it's really a cool opportunity to just go have fun at the movies. It's a good popcorn movie,
Yeah, definitely.
Adam, where are you originally from?
I was born in Sandown, New Hampshire.
Okay. So I thought it was interesting. I had never heard of Newport, New Hampshire. I had to actually look it up to see if it was a real place. I mean, obviously there's Newport, Rhode Island, there's other Newports. I didn't know Newport, New Hampshire existed. So it is a real place.
Here's the fun thing. The town is called Newport's Valley in the movie, which is actually made up. That part is made up. It's based off of basically Waterville Valley, which is where I shot the movie. For the most part. However, right after that, I bought a home, and I currently live in Newport, New Hampshire. I also had no idea that it existed. So it is so funny that ended up being the case. But no, Newport's Valley is a fictional town that is loosely based off of Waterville Valley, which is it's a cool tourist ski town. They're more into a hockey town up in New Hampshire, but it is like gorgeous. It's got 500 residents year round, so it's very small, but it's got a nice little center of the town, which you see in the movie. It's got an arcade, which you see in the movie. It's got a ski lodge, which we owned. These are all aspects I wrote into the movie knowing that we had, because that's where my job was based out of for a while.
So what did it feel like making a film that not just takes place in New Hampshire, but New Hampshire becomes a part of the film? It's very much like the setting is a big part of the plot line, right? Like,
certainly.
That we talk about, it's mentioned throughout the film. That's like bringing people in. Like, what was that meaningful to you to be able to represent your home state in such a way like that?
Yeah, the only negative about New Hampshire truly is that there's no tax credits for filmmaking, which we need to change. But New Hampshire is beautiful. It really is. And yeah, it's great. Every time I talk to my producers, they always say like it's untapped because it's so gorgeous. We have 48 mountains, that are over 4,000 feet, which is a big part of it, especially for hikers. The big thing is, when do you complete your 48? Can you do it all in 1 year? That type of thing. So it's great to show it. I love Waterville Valley. I think it's a really beautiful place. And then my big thing was like, all right, let's do this as naturally as we possibly can, which is why we went and got that mine that is also in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
And I wanted to show that side of New Hampshire as well. So yeah, no, it is really, really cool. I told you I grew up in Sandown. It is like a scrappy little town. It's not anymore. It's now becoming a very affluent area. But back then we just lived in a swamp and we were, tiny little feral children, and we were putting on plays for our parents and stuff like that. So it's always great that the sandbox that I used to play in before is still the sandbox that I'm playing in now. And I want to shoot movies everywhere, but I'll continue to shoot New Hampshire. And it's ingrained in me. You know what I mean? I love telling stories about, poor people that grew up in New Hampshire, because that was me. I was a poor person who grew up in New Hampshire.
That's awesome.
There you go. I love the setting you created in this film. I had just returned from a vacation in the Berkshires, which is now in their slow season. I was watching the film in my hotel room, and I kept on thinking, man, something strange definitely goes around here on there, like during the off season. I was just like, damn, like Adam set up this perfect film, because it was just like, I think the first night we were there, like the hotel, like we were the only ones that were there, and then I was like, what is going on? And then even some of the, in town, like the restaurants, they wasn't crowded as much. So I'm just like, damn, something really goes on here. It's like, how did you put that into the film? Like, you just said you grew up in a small town like that. How was it like growing up like that for you to create this story?
It's funny that you mentioned that. I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I think also growing up in the town and what I wanted to capture in the movie too is, especially in those, in a touristy town, is like you said, is how isolated it makes you feel. And I've always been obsessed with what it's like to be lonely and to deal with loneliness. And this is probably why I'm kind of really obsessed with found family type dynamics, which you'll see in the story. So, like I said, I think it's kind of ingrained in me. And also at the same time, what you just brought up is there's something incredibly creepy about an off season of a place, right? Something that's so manufactured to be joyful for moments, right? For a momentary stay. But then being situated in it for like a year in Waterville Valley. And when it's the off season, it is dead. There's nobody there. And there's something very eerie just about that, about being alone, surrounded by mountains in a town of 500 people, where if you disappeared, nobody could really care and they could hide it anyway. So I'm really glad that you brought that up. I think that and also, the idea of the lodge and being alone in a lodge. It's like The Shining, which I'm not a fan of the movie, but I understand that feeling that it gives you, of something of unease and, like I said, isolation and aloneness, which only adds to horror.
Absolutely. I keep seeing these references to it being the film kind of being like this Pumpkinhead meets The Cube comparison. And I was just wondering, where did this comparison start from? And did you also see these films as inspirations, or was that somebody else's kind of thought and it became like the line that just followed the film?
So it's interesting. The Pumpkinhead meets Cube was truly someone asked me and I had to answer quickly. That
the
is
best answer right
there.
Yeah,
it is. And so I quickly went with it. And one of my buddies was like, "It's not Pumpkinhead meets Cube." And I was like, I don't like. It felt like, I mean, Pumpkinhead. The fun thing, I had not seen Pumpkinhead before I wrote the script, and and my editor went to me and he said, "Hey, can you watch Pumpkinhead?" And I said, "What?" And he's like, there's a lot of similarities here. And he sent me Pumpkinhead. And Pumpkinhead's cool. That's a cool movie, man.
Yeah.
And I love the first 35 minutes of that movie. That is a killer first act. It's my favorite part of the movie by far. Because after that, it turns into fairly standard killings and stuff like that. I wish they were a little more inspired, honestly. But like that first 35 minutes is so good, and it takes its time. And I love movies that take their time, as you can probably see with mine. And then the Cube thing was really. I love the movie Cube. I think Cube rules. I thought of it quickly as a team up movie that's also a little bit horror adjacent, but at the same time, we didn't want to do two monster movies kind of crammed together, because there was a bunch of other ones we had brought up. There's the Wretched, which is another kind of like slow burn relatively cheap horror movie that was made as well. I mean, I'm super inspired. I think every single horror filmmaker is inspired by The Thing. So there's so many of these different movies that we could have grabbed.
Sure.
And another day I probably would have given you two different ones. So
well, the funny thing about it is I just keep seeing it too though now. So it's like staying with the film.
Somebody
so
it's because like Bloody Disgusting and stuff like that. They really picked up on it and they pushed it, and then everybody in their comments has been like, "Don't you dare put this movie anywhere near that league."
Of course.
As it goes. So you know what though, I'm glad, because if we're getting comparisons to that, and if people see the movie, and if we're 10% of either of those movies, then we're in pretty good territory.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Now, for me, it always sticks out, like the poster of the film. And then the taglines, "Only monsters can kill monsters," proved to be a fitting tagline for this film, because both scenes where it was stated definitely helped bring the story together. What was that like for you? Like, where you were just like, okay, like picking the tagline, how did this all start for you?
That's interesting. So, I don't want to get on a high horse or anything like that. When it came to Everwinter Night, which is, a movie we talked about before, which that was keep your friends close and your enemies forever. That was our tagline for that. And I want to be like, it was a stroke of genius by me. It was not. That was like hey, producers, let's come up with the worst taglines we can possibly think of and just have a bad day. And then we finally found, and that one screamed at us. However, "Only monsters can kill monsters" came so naturally when it was writing the script. And like when I write a script, I now write chronologically. So I make my outline, which is typically note cards. If it's not note cards, Google Doc, and I mark it out. Most of the time, it doesn't have much dialogue. It only has little blurbs of dialogue. It's just an outline. However, that line of dialogue was in the outline. And all of a sudden I could feel it. And then the first time it said, I don't want to majorly spoil, but said by Roger Clark from Red Dead Redemption, who's got one of the all-time great voices. And when that happened, I was like, this thing wrote itself. It's as if there's this great talk. Like I am not. I don't want to ever consider myself anywhere near the level of genius or anything along those lines. And so I remember when I used to have a giant ego. I was such a little jerk, and I thought everything I wrote was the greatest thing ever. When I came out of high school, I thought that. And over time, it has just been whittled away. And it's like, that is not the case. That is not the case. And anytime anything great happens to me, there's this great idea of the genius, which is a little fairy that lives inside your walls. And when you have a good idea, it's because it's whispering it to you. And that feels like one of those sentences that was handed to me by the gods. And they said, "Here, for a moment, you get to be like us. And then I'm going to take it away from you for the rest of the movie." So it was just a really cool line that came to my head. And I'm very, very lucky that it did. And when you have the two times it's being said by actors that are so much better at their job than I've ever been at any job ever, it just an exclamation point. And then, when it gets on the poster, it looks pretty cool too. So I'm pretty happy with it.
That fairy thing could be also the setup for one of your next films.
Oh, I'm writing right now. Yeah.
When it turns evil,
yeah, that's
for
good.
you to do evil things. Yeah.
Oh, and it could be called Evil Genius. There you
go.
It writes itself. Yeah.
See, look at that. Oh, that's awesome. And like I said, like the poster, the artwork, like this is even Everwinter Night. That poster, it just stands out. You know what I mean? And then so for this one too, it's just like 2 for 2 on the posters for me. Like that's
the
crazy.
poster's cool.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Thank you so much. So shout out to Sadist Arts, which is Mark Skoenbeck. He does a lot of horror posters, and the dude rules. He's so unbelievably good. And I want to thank you guys for saying that, because I might have told the story before with Everwinter Night. Everwinter Night, they rejected somebody, a sales agent rejected us because of the poster and said, "Hey, can you guys put some more boobs on it?" And we're like, "Come on, man, this poster rules. It's really great. It's classy. It works. The lack of color is great about it." And then we give it to the same artist again for Round the Decay, and holy crap, he knocked it out of the park. I think it's better than the Everwinter poster. I think it's a 10 out of 10 in my book, So, and it also does that thing, which is like, if I am scrolling through a wheel and I see that poster, You bet
You're
your
gonna
ass
stop.
I'm pressed.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. I gotta see that movie.
Yeah,
So
Yep.
yeah. Shout out to Mark and anybody
that's
who
awesome.
wants a horror poster, especially. Go to Mark. He's very easy to work with. He works really quickly, and he does, like I said, awesome work.
Definitely. Like if there's a movie I've never seen, I'm scrolling on Tubi and I just see like this crazy poster. I'm just like, I gotta check this out.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They
Yeah.
say don't judge a book by its cover, but we
no.
all do. And I'm
Yep.
sure we're probably all relatively close in age, in that all of us went to video stores when we
Yeah.
were younger, and
Hmm.
I judged everything by the cover. I used to avoid horror because I was terrified of horror because of the Dead Alive poster with the mouth opening. That scared me. I couldn't even
Yep.
go into the section because of it. So, like, it is amazing what the power of a good poster, and also it's a lost art form, right? Some of the, like, especially the rom-coms, the Seth Rogen era of rom-coms, are the
Mhm.
worst posters you've ever seen ever. And so I think that we need to bring back the great poster art. We'll get to
Yeah.
a great title sequence in time. We still need to get back to that. But right now, make a great poster, because I think all of us will watch the movie.
It's like
Definitely.
when you're watching Netflix now, sometimes instead of the movie poster, they'll show like a still from the movie. That pisses me off so bad. I'm like, just show me the poster, please. Like,
Well, and
I'll
al-
see that shot when I watch the film. It's
And I completely agree. And also when they do it, right? So obviously when you're watching a movie, it's horizontal, and those images they turn to be vertical. So framing is all off.
right.
It drives
Mhm.
me insane.
Yes.
I
Or
completely agree.
sometimes it'll be an image of it, like not even like a main character in the film or something. It'll be just some random shot. And I'm
Yeah.
like, if you know the film, you're like, why is that the shot they're showing right now? But yeah.
It almost feels like it's like a default thumbnail that YouTube picked out for 'em.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Because they always pick the
Yeah.
worst one.
It's
Yeah.
true. Yeah, exactly. So I completely agree. So like
Yeah.
spend a little bit of money on your
Yeah.
posters when you can. And I always think and this might just be my bias, but if you can get a hand-drawn poster, if it
Yes.
fits the tone of the movie, oh my
Mhm.
God, it's so cool. And
Yeah.
also it's fighting against that, crappy, soulless AI junk that's being produced. So,
Mhm.
Get a human to make something for you and you will feel the humanity in it,
There you go. So last time you were on, we were talking about some of the practical effects, and then we were just getting ready to like go into signing like Greg McDowell, who worked on The Haunting of Hill House, The Stranger Things, War of Worlds. How did he get involved with this project?
First of all, how damn cool is that, right?
I was, and then we couldn't talk
yeah,
about it, and I was like, man.
yeah, and like I have to share a quick little anecdote about it because he sent me, we were talking about it, and he's working on Haunting of Hill House, which is a Flanagan project,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I was like, we work with Flanagan, that's so cool. I love what Flanagan's been doing, whether it be Stephen King or Stephen King adjacent. Like Midnight Mass is definitely Salem's Lot. We all know it. And and he sent me a photo from the set of Doctor Sleep when he was in the Overlook, and my mind was blown because he did the degloving that happens in
Mhm.
that movie. Super cool. How I got him, and this is why you make connections and continue to make movies. Back probably when I was 24 years old, so that was 13 years ago. I made a movie down in Florida. I did a small Kickstarter for it. I ended up getting a makeup artist. Her name was Kaylee Ken. She was the most professional thing on our set. I made a crappy short film. It never saw anybody, nobody. I mean, I didn't even finish it. And she was on set, and she was incredibly lovely. She was always on time. Her makeup was immaculate the moment she got there,
Mhm.
even when it was, like it was dawn. And what ended up happening is I reached out to her years later because I saw she was doing a lot of work, and she had been working on the Guardians movies.
Oh.
And she was doing a lot of that. And so I reached out to her and I said, like, hey, I'd love to work with you again. You were really cool. I'm still making movies, and we're trying to do it here. And she said, hey, sorry, I'm incredibly pregnant right now, but
Mhm.
I work with this guy who's incredible at practical effects, and especially for monster makeup and stuff like that. And so she said, I want you to reach out to Greg. And Greg, I see his IMDb, and it's incredibly intimidating when you see something like that. You're like, we're small potatoes, man. And this guy is something.
Yeah.
As down to earth as they come, and all he cares about is making cool stuff. And so I reached
Mhm.
out to him. He immediately reached back. He read the script and he said, hey, I'm really glad that the script isn't just a bunch of hikers being chased by a monster. And I think that there's more to this, and I really like it. And I have these ideas, and I've just learned over time, like I've mentioned before, get rid of the ego, get rid of the ego, get rid of the ego, and trust in the craftsman, especially somebody with this amount of credits. And I was like,
Yeah.
Greg, let your mind go. We created this monster, but you're the one who's really going to create it.
Yeah.
And you guys have seen it. Obviously, we can't show a lot of it yet, and hopefully people go to the theaters and see it.
Yep.
But oh my God, the work that he does, and then also what he does for the blood and the gore and all that type of stuff. And anytime we had to, you have to pick your battles on an indie set because we don't have a lot of days to shoot. And so sometimes we go, this kill doesn't get to be as cool as we wanted. And the person who is the most bummed by far
It's him.
Is him. Yeah, he's going, okay. Well, what if we do this instead? All right, I think we can do that, Greg. So I'd work with him again in a heartbeat. The guy is constantly 1,000 miles per hour. But you guys have seen his practical effects in our movie, but also in these other movies. And my God, it's good stuff. And I'm sure you guys are much more horror guys than I am. And you guys, I know that you feel this way, which is like, if you give me something that's practical, even if there's a little bit of goofiness to it, you feel, man, you
1000%.
really feel it. Yeah. And I can't watch another superhero punch a guy through a CGI building. I just can't do it. Like, there's no weight ever to any of this. And so I will take something that is way smaller in scale as long as it feels kind of real. And there's a moment in the movie, I can't spoil it, but it's relatively early in the cave, involving a character named Trevor. And I remember, and I was like, this is never going to work. And we were going through the edit over and over. And then finally, all of a sudden it did. And then in the theater, everybody went, oh, right when it happened. And so and I went, okay, this is more, cheap practical effects doesn't matter. As long as you can design a moment that feels real, people will react to it,
So I think you kind of just answered my thing I wanted to ask you about the creature. And I just want to say, I love that this movie is so many things. It's a creature feature. It's, there's some psychological aspects to it. There's some occultish stuff, I guess you would say. But like the creature aspect of it is cool because like, who doesn't love a good creature feature, right? And I was wondering, did you already have an idea of what you wanted it to, or did you go heavily on like what he kind of designed for you?
That's a great question. I'll be on. I mean, the first draft of the script, which most of the time is my seventh draft, in that I go over and over and over. With the first readable draft of the script, it was not its own creation. It was not a monster that we had made up. It was a real monster, which was like based off of, and I don't think I'm supposed to say the word that much, but it's based off of a Wendigo.
I knew it. I literally was going to ask you that earlier, but I was like, no, it's probably not.
It was the original idea was a Wendigo. I'm really, I watched a lot of, especially leading up to this, I did watch a lot of Wendigo movies.
Yeah.
Wendigo being one of them, and Antlers, which I'm going to stand by this. I don't think that there's been a great Wendigo movie. I still stand by that. And I watch a lot, and I was really, I'm a big video game player, and I loved the video game Until Dawn. And so, that was shaping a lot of it. However, I ended up having a long conversation with a Native American woman, and she says not even to say the word because you can bring the spirit in, and so it can be disrespectful. And I said, you know what, I have to check. At first, you get a little frustrated. Oh, I really wanted to make this, and it's like, no, stop. You have a creative opportunity now, and not only that, but you can thematically start changing this monster to look a very different way. It could be doing a very different thing. And also it can echo what is going on with Kenzie's journey throughout. So that was kind of the basic. And so when I sent some of that imagery, and of course, you send the classic monsters. It doesn't look anything like the Xenomorph. However, you go like, the Xenomorph is the coolest thing ever. So let's make sure this thing is cool too. It was kind of like that. And then it was like, hey, let's pull some inspirations from different places where we can, when it comes to the jaw, and when it comes to its eyesight, and when it comes to all of these different aspects. And my big thing too was that I wanted it to feel very feminine, too, which as the people see in the movie, they'll understand why. But yeah, so I think it's like a building, and this is just like all art, right? It's, you find something that you really latch onto, and then you kind of expand off of that. And so that's kind of where we were aiming. And then hopefully when it's all said and done, it kind of looks like a bunch of other monsters, but it also looks very uniquely its own. You know what I mean?
Yeah, which I think, like, just from that answer and like my kind of intuition, I think you accomplished that, because I got that inspiration, but then also it's its own creature. So I think the mission accomplished there.
Well, thank you. And you know, we've got our fingers crossed that that it becomes a monster that people really get attached to and think it's cool and stuff like that. And if you watch the movie and it doesn't connect with you emotionally, which would suck, obviously, and I will lose sleep over it. But if that doesn't do that, maybe you can still look at it as like, wow, that is a unique new thing. And people will go, I want to take that thing and make my own version of it. And that would be the most humbling and the coolest, you know, because I want it to be a monster that enters, you know, the pantheon of monsters, you know what I mean? So you know, thank you for saying that. And I'm really happy with how the monster did turn out.
I had some people over, and I kind of snuck off and watched this movie while they were gathering, and then I got a big old, what the fuck are you watching? When they walked in the room and they saw that. And I was like, perfect.
No, that's I don't think I've ever gotten a greter compliment. So
there you go.
I get that all the time. It's
that's great.
Yep. So like I said, cool tagline, cool poster. We got a cool monster, practical effects. And you can't forget about the score in this film. You know, the score, you know, just brings everything together. You know, I loved it. You know, what was his name? David Lapavich.
Yeah.
Did I butcher his last name? Did I get it right?
I believe it's Labovich. I mean, the crazy
Labovich.
Labovich. Yeah, he I have never met him. I still he lives in LA. He's British. I had a conversation with him. He's British. You know, I ended up getting him. We were looking for, you know, as an independent filmmaker, one of the easiest things to get a lot of is composers. They are reaching out to you very constantly, which means you have an abundance of riches, but figuring out who's going to be best for your movie is really difficult to find. And also because of how fast we had to make this movie and turn it around, it had to be somebody that like was understood tone that we were going for right away and was able to take notes very quickly. And David is that. David rules. I'm so thankful that you brought that up, because I think, especially in a horror movie, you know, when you watch the rough cut of the movie and there's no score in there, you really believe you just made the worst movie of all time. And it is very difficult to see through it and be like, yeah, no, this is going to be okay. No, you just go, I just blew it and I need to go into hiding. And then David brings a score forward. And the big thing, I mean, you guys probably have heard it through there. We didn't put a temp soundtrack in because I know that a lot of composers can get frustrated by that. However, kept pointing to Silent Hill, Silent Hill, Silent Hill, Silent Hill. Keep going, Silent Hill. We would go with that, and we started talking about character themes and stuff like that. And the moment he sent me the main theme of the movie, I just got goosebumps thinking about it. You know, my God, he's really good. And then what ended up happening was, I mean, as always, we were a week before the premiere, and we're still editing the movie. That my colorist is doing it, and David and I we did a 16-hour day where I just listened to the movie over and over again, and I'd write notes in a spreadsheet, and we just follow each other. And so as I'd be finishing a note, he'd be sending the old note back with all of the changes, and then we just keep doing this iron and chase for about 16 hours. And then finally he goes like, man, I gotta eat. Is that okay? and I said, yeah, no, I get it. And at this time, we're not even speaking. It's the way we're talking is through the spreadsheet. We're typing to each other. And we're texting in the meantime, and we're just trying to get it to be close to what it was. And then we finally did one more pass. And obviously we're doing one more pass for the theatrical. What you guys have seen is pretty close to what the movie's going to be. It is picture locked. We're making little adjustments and a couple tiny adjustments with the score. But I'm so glad that you said it, because he really knocks it out of the park. And you know, it's great when my editor, who plays the Zach character in the movie too, because he's also my AD and an actor and the editor and the colorist. But he's known to be a bit harsh, and when he said I would buy this on vinyl, I just buy the soundtrack, and so
Cool. There
I
you
went,
go.
all right, we're feeling pretty good about it. So I'm really
Yeah.
thankful that you said that. I'm going to make sure that David
Mm.
hears that, and I'm really hopeful that David gets to see it on the big screen too, because
Yeah.
he hasn't seen the movie yet, besides just watching it that way. So
No,
yeah,
okay.
thank you for saying that.
So I wanted to ask you, you kind of shed some light into a little bit of like maybe what you were going through as you were creating this project that might have inspired some of it. There's layers in this film about how events can impact us, and how keeping them bottled up or secret may change us or create more issues. And I mean, we see that with like some of the individual characters, but we also see it as like a town or a community of people. And I thought that theme just seemed like it was something that maybe felt personal, or just something that you were like really kind of going in on heavy. I was just wondering where some of that inspiration came from, or what kind of gave you those ideas to work with.
Yeah, well, thank you for saying that. I love that you're looking more into it than just, hey, there's just a
Mhm.
creature feature in that, and I'm really glad
Yep.
that you did see that. Yeah, I mean, I won't throw the relationship that I had with this past person, which we had a good relationship for a while, and then it started to fall apart. It was very, very painful for the two of us, for both of
Mhm.
us. And I don't want to
Mhm.
claim that it was just her, like it was me. There are direct lines from both from Zach and Kenzie, especially that I said and she said, and both characters use both of them. So
Okay.
they are painful things that each of us have said to each other, whether it be to intentionally hurt each other, unintentionally hurt each other, or to hurt somebody because we were hurting. Whatever it was incredibly painful at the time, and this is therapy in a lot of ways. And it was like,
No.
I don't go into movies thinking, oh, I'm just going to make a cool monster movie. Hopefully that also happens, but it's like I want to talk about something, and you don't even really realize it until you start
Yeah.
writing it
Yeah.
out, and then all of a sudden it's kind of comes pouring out. And I think what you just said is so cool, because I hadn't even thought about it too much like that, about hiding things, but I think about the things that you don't say, and the things that you let, and then the things you let bubble under the surface until they. And this has been something that I used to have major problems with in the past, is you just don't talk about things. You don't
Yeah.
talk about things. You don't talk
No.
about things. You keep pushing it off until you explode. And
Right.
Mhm.
and it's the end of the world. And it's a completely different thing if 1 year before that you had just said, hey, that made me feel uncomfortable, or hey, I feel strange about that, or hey, I feel anxious about this. And so I'm really glad that you did see that. And that's kind of where it drew from. And I think it was, I'm hoping that the movie is a way to forgive myself
Yeah.
for some of these things. And
Mhm.
hopefully if she ever sees it, she can feel the same way, or she'll be like, man, he really did suck. Either way,
Mm.
it's one of those. Yeah, I'm really glad that you brought that up, because yeah, these are obviously those were things that I was thinking about quite a bit. And it's not just in Zach and Kenzie, as well. It's in all the other characters as well.
Yeah. Yep.
Which then is so tied to how alone you feel in those situations. Sometimes when it's with somebody, or sometimes
Sure.
when it's by yourself. So no, thank you for bringing
No.
that.
Yeah, of course. I just think that there's so many times too when we see something that happened on like a community base, and the idea as people move past it, their idea of moving past it is to kind of brush over it, not talk about it. And
Mhm.
we see that, we've seen it, that theme in various other things. It almost reminds me of like It or something like that, where like like some kind of tragedy happens, and as they get move on, they decide they're just not going to ever talk about it, instead of actually like really processing it. And the same can happen on an individual level too. So
I'm really glad. Well, the fact that you brought up It too, because that wasn't even a movie I consciously thought of, but it's the same type of thing. It's another found family movie, and
yeah.
Mm.
even what you just said, when they decide not to talk about it, and that's what I love about movies, and that's what I love about story, is that oftentimes what it does is it takes your characters and it puts them through the ringer. That was the first thing I learned about story, was like, punish them, punish all of your characters over and over and over again, because I'm sure you guys feel the same way about how you've reacted in life. It's great to feel comfort is
Yeah.
so great. However, I'm currently going through, like right now I'm dealing with my dad's health, which is really, really poor, and coming to terms with the fact that we might be saying goodbye to my dad soon. And I know that it sucks, right? And of course it sucks, but I do know that like right now is the time where myself and the rest of the family is learning something about ourselves. And hopefully when we come out of it, hopefully he gets to come out of it too. But we're learning a lot about who we are and how we react under certain situations. And that's what
Yeah.
movies get to do all the time without you having to experience it necessarily. And if you feel empathy, which is why movies are so great, is that you can feel what they're going through and understand what they're going through, and then maybe apply those type of things to your life. And so Kenzie and all the other characters, Bart and Roz, all the characters that everybody's going to see when they go see Round the Decay in January 31st. They
Yep.
they're all going through their lives, and they're all trying so hard not to deal with the hard things. And then a monster makes them. And I think it's really cool because again, we don't have to necessarily go through it, but we can feel all these characters going through something special that's going to change their lives, and they're going to be bigger or better people because of it.
Yeah. I just one more thing I want to add to this. I know I'm kind of going long on this idea, but it just reminds me of this thing that I say all the time about like avoidance, right? And you can avoid things for as long as you want. They're never going to go away. What ends up happening is the issue itself ends up becoming this larger than life monster as you can like visually represent in a horror film. But that's kind of what it turns into, right? It's this overarching looming thing that you could have just dealt with at some point in time, and it would have been uncomfortable, it would have been hard, but like instead you try to avoid it to avoid those uncomfortable feelings, and it turns into this big thing monster. I love that representation, so well done.
Thank you so much. And it's so great that you're taking that out of it. And especially I'm doing it now, like we put everything off. We all try to do the same thing.
Yeah.
And then we get to that point where it turns into the monster. And then we're like, why does God put all of these things in front of me? And it's like, no. This one's on you, bud.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. I love that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice. Now, at the end of the film, Taylor Cron, empty motel lobby was a nice choice to help fade into the credits. We started up PVD Horror Radio last year. We talk about how our love for music and horror, and connect it all together. How do you shift through and find the right songs to fit your projects?
All right. Well, so this is going to be one of the most interesting topics. So, first of all, that song, which is great, I love the song by Taylor, will not be the song that is going to play at the end of the actual movie.
Oh, okay.
I love the song. I do. We had another song that we were supposed to have that was supposed to play, and it was a very famous song, and we got the rights pulled 14 hours before the theatrical premiere of the movie. The family bailed on it. You guys have seen the movie, and there's a couple times where a little bit of a parody version of the song is playing. I'll let you know it was that song. And we were about to, and the family pulled it. They just didn't want it to be part of a horror movie. And so what ended up happening is I reached out to David. David got me in touch with Taylor. I said, Taylor, can I use your movie for 3 screenings? And here's a few $100. I think your song's really cool. I'd love to do it. It still fits the tone of what we were aiming.
Yep.
But we were very lucky that in this process too, my good friend wrote a song for the movie, and so we're going to end up using that at the end. When it comes to picking music though for movies, it's really difficult because like I'm sure that you have all felt the same thing. You're listening to the radio and you go like, hell yeah, this song would rule in the movie at this point. Like, yeah, but that's also going to cost you 10 grand, and that's probably being generous. And if you don't have 10 grand. So oftentimes what it is I don't go into a movie thinking any music anywhere until it really starts screaming at me that it has to be the case. I mean, what's great is that there is Artlist as one of the options, and Artlist has like a growing library where if you pay the subscription fee, you have to do a little bit of searching, but you can find some really, really good music. And then I always say, look locally. I think if you get married to any song or sound, or married to anything at our budget level, you're probably dooming yourself. You know, I've heard people say that like this movie isn't complete if I don't have the Rolling Stones, and it's like I'm you don't have the money, you don't have it.
Yeah.
Right.
Be more creative and find something. I hope more people put Taylor's music in because Taylor rules. And yeah, and I've seen a couple of his performances now that I've gone into his YouTube because I want him to make music for some of our other stuff too. I also want to get him on screen because he's so damn handsome. So yeah, it's always different how you find music for every different project. But I think that my biggest thing is just being fluid when it comes to it, just being prepared to when the time comes and you understand that you have to find a song, try to find every little crack that you can possibly find, and maybe you'll find something that ends up being really, really powerful. And sometimes you stick it in there and then you go, that doesn't really work for me. And then somebody else listens to it. It's like that was my favorite moment of the movie. And you go, all right, this movie isn't completely for me anyway. It's not even it's no longer for me. I say that the only movies that aren't for me in the world, every movie in the world has been made for me. I selfishly think about it like that, except for my own. My own, I've watched them 1,000 times. I have no idea about Round the Decay anymore, or about Everwinter Night, or anything I've ever watched. I've seen them too many times to understand, and so they're for you. They're for you guys, and like whatever the movie is now is up to it's your decision as to what you want it to be or what you don't want it to be, and you can be angry about whatever it is. The point is that it is yours, and I think the same thing when I give things to actors too.
Yeah.
It's your role now. I was lucky enough to write it, but like the moment you say the first line of it or you do the first action of it, it's yours. And so that's how I kind of think about it.
Awesome.
That's cool.
Adam, before we wrap up here, can you just tell the listeners where they can find you on social media or anything like that, or where they can follow any of your upcoming work?
Yeah, so director Adam Newman is my Instagram handle, probably because the other Adam Newman stole Adam Newman. So that my Instagram handle is director Adam Newman. Also, Dreamscape Productions LLC is our company's Instagram, which a few different people run. We have a Round the Decay Instagram. I know movies aren't as big when it comes to that. I'm on Facebook as well. You know, that's Adam Newman, number 5070. And you can find me there if you can search through all the other Adam Newmans that exist. Same thing with Dreamscape. It's on Facebook as well. And then of course, dreamscapeproductions.com, where you can get your tickets for Round the Decay, pre-order them, please. But you can also see some of our upcoming projects, some of the other projects that we've already picked up for theatrical distribution as well. I hope that people look at it, and I hope that but if people are making features, I do hope you reach out to me if you have questions, first of all. But if you're looking to find ways to get into theaters, we always want to have conversations with people. It might not mean that we want to, it's going to work out between us, but at the very least, we can at least tell our journey of how we went about it. So yeah, those are the places that you can reach me, and emailing me, adam.newman@dreamscapeproductions.com, which is pretty simple. I answer almost all of my emails, and I'm very lucky where it's now starting to happen, because I always feel I would have rejected any form of mentorship when I was younger, because again, like I said, I had a giant ego, but I wish I hadn't. I wish I had been like willing to listen to people more. And I'm always super humbled when somebody reaches out. I had it happen after the premiere of Round the Decay, where someone reached out and said, like, I really, really enjoyed your movie, and I'd love to talk to you about how you did it. And like that is, that brings a tear to the eye type of thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because any way you can pay it forward. So yeah, those are all. That's a very long-winded way to explain how to reach out to me. And I hope that people that they truly do, because we call our group the Merry Band, and we want to keep adding people to it.
Awesome. And as we mentioned, January 30th, Round the Decay will be hitting theaters. Adam, one last time, tell them where to pre-order their tickets.
Dreamscapeproductions.com, or all of the links of all of the social media I just mentioned. There is a link in the bio of all of them. So please click on that. Also, a lot of our cast has the same thing. If you go to Rachel Pizzolatto's pages, you go to Roger Clark's, Victoria Mears, all of them have personalized links where you can click them as well. Buy tickets, please buy tickets. Keep going to the cinema, please. Everybody's listening. Keep going to the cinema. go see our movie. But if you don't see our movie, see every other movie, please.
See a movie.
Yeah,
please.
a movie.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
But the good thing is, if you do pre-order that ticket, you get that digital download. So that's a perk. I mean, how awesome is that? You get something to take home with you. So that's very cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like Adam, like you said before, like if you can't make it to a movie, buy your friend a ticket.
Yeah.
Thank
Get your friend a ticket. There you go. You
It's
can
the best
set it up
gift.
for his birthday gift, even if it's not his birthday or anything else that's coming. There you go. Just put it out there. Pre-order tickets.
Even if you're 6 weeks off from when their birthday is, you can get them a ticket.
Or Christmas Day,
Yeah,
know,
whatever.
same
Yeah.
thing, you know.
Oh,
We'll change
God.
the other Adam Newman's name to Jesus Christ, and
They're
you're just Adam, right? Okay. Adam, thank you so much for joining us, man. This was a pleasure. I'm sorry I missed the first interview, but I'm glad I was able to hop on this one because it was a great time talking to you, man.
Thank you guys so much for taking the time to chat with me. And I'm going to keep making movies over and over and over again. They're not always going to be horror, but I hope that we get to keep talking because this is always a pleasure. And you guys treat me well, and also you guys treat horror well, indie horror well. I've seen your guys' show, especially when it was leading up to the first one. I watched your guys' stuff, and you guys clearly care about movies, and that is so damn cool. So thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Appreciate that.
That's a nice compliment. Appreciate that. All right, everybody. We will be back, but check out Round the Decay January 30th in theaters, and we will see you guys next episode, whenever that is. We'll be talking horror and doing what we do. So we'll see you then. Have a good night, everyone.
Take it easy.
See ya.
Game over.